What up, everybody out there in the internet YouTube planet? I just had to stop. I'm about to go to work right now, but I had to stop and make this video. Last year in August, I heard a word from the Lord that said that I'm weighing nations and American cities, and I'm weighing them in the balance, and they're found lacking. Those who sow into obedience to my commandments will receive life. Those who sow into sin and rebellion will receive death. There is a river of life that flows from my throne. Drink of it and live. That was the word I heard last year. Ever since then, it's kind of switched a lot of what I see going on in my current life situation where, I'm planning on relocating and moving, somewhere in Oklahoma. I live in Washington State, and there's just been lots of confirmations. So I just wanted to get in to what I really believe that the bigger picture of what that word really means when it comes to the solar eclipse that's going to happen in 2024 in April. And so in the last video, I talked about Brandon and Steve Cicciolanti and how they have kind of, broken down certain things involving all that. There's also a significant thing I didn't really go too deep into that the Lord spoke to me about this solar eclipse. So if you go and you watch the videos I linked in my last warning video, it describes how this solar eclipse is going to literally do an X across the country. So the first one happened in 2017. It started in the northwest half of the country, and the solar eclipse went all the way over the country and exited the country through the southeast. The next one's going to start more in the northeast of the country, and it's going to exit more southwest. So it forms a perfect X across America. More specifically, the X actually lands on a town called Little Egypt in Illinois. What is so interesting about this, you can Google it and go look at it, and it's like, man, there's so many prophetic signs to all this. I linked Mark Biltz. He did a breakdown of this whole thing. Go watch these videos. I'm just kind of being a conduit, of other watchmen, and I'm also releasing the things that I'm hearing from God on this. But this is what I heard concerning all that. So when the plagues of Egypt were poured out in the book of Exodus, later on we read in several other passages in the Bible that the judgments, each judgment was a reference to a god of Egypt. And so were people caught up in that? Absolutely. The Egyptians that were caught up, and any Israelites who didn't obey were also caught up in those judgments. And what I see in the scriptures is that God comes in, just like how hell is prepared for the devil and the angels. Anyone who has yoked themselves and attached themselves to these beings that are being judged because they don't have a path of salvation, you are basically delivered up to the same fate. So when I see this warning that's coming over America, I see God judging the systems of America. I don't necessarily see the destruction of America, even though, according to that word, I do see the destruction of American cities. But I do not believe that America will be completely destroyed. Brandon, many other people, there's even a vision from George Washington where he saw this last great peril that America was going to go through, but they were going to come out of it, even though it's going to be a great peril, like a time of immense tribulation. And I really do believe that in the next 7 years, we are going to see that unfold. And I believe it with everything that is in me. I am actually orientating my life around this. I'm trying to get my family and my heart, myself in position so that I could be a blessing during that time. Because I know the only hope that we have in this country is that people turn back to God. They turn back to Jesus, the Messiah, Yeshua. That is the only hope. I'm a prepper, but I could have I could have the greatest preps, all the food. I could stockpile, all all the ammunition, have all the different firearms. I could have the greatest mag in the world. You know, I could have nuclear bunkers and all sorts of different stuff. And it literally means nothing if I am not in step with God. So that is the greatest prep. Okay, I'm not discounting all the other stuff, but that is ultimately the greatest prep, because that will lead you out of the systems of Egypt that are going to be judged. And so the systems of America that are similar to Egypt, that I believe are going to be judged, for one, is going to be financial. Okay, the financial systems here in America are completely corrupted, and I really believe this is the root to all sorts of other evils that have come about in America. I believe there's a couple things that are really center at this. And I'm not going to get too extensive in all this. I mean, I could really make a super long video about all this, but I really just want to get this word out and to warn people, and to just be another voice out there in the sea of voices on the internet that hopefully will wake some people up, you know? So the financial system, there's a book that Jonathan Codd, he just wrote. It's called The Return of the Gods. And he talks about how one of the first gods that begin to actually dispossess God, like the real God, out of a country is Baal. And Baal is often represented as a bull. You know, our financial system is epitomized, you know, by what goes on in Wall Street and the stock market. Out on that street over there in New York, they put a big old bull, you know, for bull market. And he draws all these correlations between these gods and all the different idols and different things that are put up in America. So I really believe that's one of the biggest ones that's going to get judged. Is there is unjust scales. They're an abomination to the Lord. Our entire fiat system is just not the way God designed it to be. And out of that excess, when you can just print money, then you don't have to have people actually like producing, because each dollar is really a vehicle of somebody else's time and energy. That's what it's really supposed to represent. But when you can just print it without time and energy propping up or being the vehicle of, or that dollar being a vehicle of that time and energy, that's where we get inflation. And that's what's going on right now. This is an abomination to God. These are unjust scales. So people are gobbling up this cash, the ultra wealthy, and they're buying up assets, hard assets, land, you know, gold, you know, you name it. You can go down the whole list. And they're going to control, they have leverage over the common person because they own real things. But it's also, this money has also created, I believe, some of the greater evils that we're seeing. The excess of amount of money, the black operations, you know what I mean? The crazier stuff that goes on with this country, the crazier evils that are going on. Human trafficking, okay? I do not believe a lot of this would be going on if there wasn't such an excess of money that is not righteous here in America. That is one system I believe that is going to be judged for sure in the next 7 years, without a doubt. There's other stuff though, you know, our public education system. You know, the public education system was founded on principles of teaching kids to learn to read the Bible. Okay, a lot of people don't even realize that. You look at it now through, you know, different people like Albert Kinsey, who crept in back in the 50s and 60s, who came up with this whole sex education thing. Go look it up. Go research Albert Kinsey on your own. But this guy's basically a pedophile. I mean, his study was revolving around how children have have like a sexual nature, and he studied pedophiles. I don't even know how you do that without being a pedophile yourself. And so that was put in there, and now we're seeing the ultimate fruit of that now in the future. Hear what's going on in our public system. You can't even put your kids in public school at this point. I mean, I know that not every school is the same and some are different, okay? And I'm not going to say they're all the same, but a lot of them, it's basically child abuse to put your kids in these schools and to put them under the subjection of some of these people. This system is going to be judged, okay? I could go on and on, but if you yoke yourself to these things, I just gave a couple examples right there, but there's many more I could give. I really believe that one of the other big ways that people are yoked, especially people in the church, they're yoked to the world system, and you got to come out of it, is pornography. Pornography drives all the human trafficking. Pornography is, I believe, what has caused an explosion in the whole transsexual stuff. All these different things. All this sexual perversion, I believe, is all tied back to pornography. And I'm not the only one that says this. I mean, there's lots of people pointing this out. So, if you have to make a decision. If you're somebody who's trying to follow the Lord, you have to cut out pornography in your life. I understand people can struggle. I've struggled with it in the past. I get it. I understand how it can ensnare people. But you have to make a commitment to cut that stuff out of your life. And you gotta, that's one of the ways that you're gonna come out of her, my people, lest you partake in her plagues, her judgments. And I really believe that that's what's gonna happen. That's why the X lands on Little Egypt, is that God is going to judge the gods of America. Okay? One of the signs that I felt a long time ago that we would see a greater revival come is out of the destruction of a certain idol in America. And that sounds weird, but I really believe that the great revival that we're looking for here in America is actually going to come after great devastation, unfortunately. Because the people are willingly ignorant. They're willfully ignorant to what's going on. A lot of people see what's going on, but they don't want to turn to God. They just want to put their head in the sand and just continue on with their life. And it's the same thing you see all throughout the Bible. So, I really believe that, I lost my train of thought on that one. I can't remember exactly which one I was talking about there, but I really believe that the Little Egypt that's here the Washington Monument, that's what it was. Okay. So the sign that God gave me a while back was when the Washington Monument comes down, that when that's destroyed. The Washington Monument is an Egyptian obelisk that is over there in Washington, D.C. It's near the White House and the Capitol building and all that. That is a symbol of a fertility rite that goes all the way back to Nimrod and Semiramis and Tammuz, the whole Babylon story, the false trinity, the real original antichrist in the earth, Nimrod. And when that comes down, I believe that's going to be significant to a precursor to America coming into revival. So, and I think there's going to be some things shaken up. I've heard a lot of different prophecies about earthquakes, various tsunamis, all sorts of different natural disasters. And I believe that's going to be part of it. I believe that's going to be part of judging the systems. And just like there was 10 different main gods in Egypt that kind of were over each part of their society, there are definitely gods over the American that are not the one true God, and the God of Israel in the Bible, that are over how America is put together. We even see it all over the architecture of Washington, D.C. There's all these other gods everywhere. Like I said, the obelisk being a sign of one of them. So I believe that, unfortunately, this is going to happen. I think there's some things that we're not going to be able to intercede and pray out of this thing, but some of this is going to be the mercy of God. I don't believe God is going to destroy and condemn, like that kind of judgment over America. I do believe he's going to destroy some of these systems in America, and America will never be the same again. We will be a different version of whatever when we come out of all this whole thing. And obviously, if you study like the philosophies of like the New World Order and stuff, and the occultists like Manly P. Hall and certain people that helped establish certain things within America through, Freemasonry. They talk a lot about the phoenix, about rising out of the ashes. So they have a plan for this as well. They want to see the country destroyed, and then out of that rises the occult utopia that they believe America was destined to be. I'm not going to believe that. I'm going to believe that God is going to he's going to bring together a society that's built on biblical principles and values out of all this. But you have to be warned, and you have to understand that if you are tied to these systems, you will be judged with them. I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're not a Christian. It doesn't matter. You have to come out of her unless you partake with her. And so and here's another big one that a lot of people may not like. Sorcery in the Bible is all tied to the idea of using mind-altering substances, drugs, or so on and so forth. Like in the New Testament, the Greek word pharmakia is really tied to drugs. A druggist is one definition of the word pharmakia. Obviously, we see what's going on with the pharmaceutical companies and what they're doing in America, and we saw what happened, with the whole, the Charlie Victor, one-niner. If you know what I'm saying. I don't even want to. This video is probably already going to get, flagged or whatever because I've said keywords. But what I'm trying to get at is that the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, okay, they are completely corrupted. You have companies that are basically they basically trade hats. 1 year they're a government oversight, the next year they're a CEO of one of these companies. And our food is destroying people. And I would say also a lot of the food in America I would basically qualify it as drugs. It is like modern day alchemy that they are doing through the food supply. And I know this is probably, a lot of people are going to hate what I'm having to say right now, but that is part of the systems of Little Egypt here in America that's going to get judged. We have got to come out of, we have to take on a more biblical diet, and we have to understand how important this actually is. It says that the mystery harlot Babylon actually she literally is basically controlling the nations of the world through sorcery, through drugs. In the book of Revelation, it says this. I can go on and on about this. I would strongly suggest that you take an account of how you are yoked to the systems of Little Egypt by what you eat. And I know that sounds crazy, but all throughout the scripture, sexual immorality and idolatry is linked to what you eat. Even in the book of Revelation, when Jesus is addressing the 7 churches, he comes at several churches and be like, hey, you have those there that they eat meat sacrificed to idols, okay? And you got to understand, part of eating is covenant, it's communion. And when you eat, you are basically coming into agreement with, you're at the altar of that particular spirit if it is in dedication to it. And it doesn't have to be like, how it was back in the day. A lot of what they're doing right now, you could talk about mammon and whatnot, and how they get people addicted to certain kind of foods, using things like sugar, which is basically no different in your brain chemistry than cocaine. So I'm not going to go into each one, I think, that will get judged. I just want to give some examples so you understand what I'm saying, and that you understand that, like, man, we all have to realize, like, you better be prepared. You better make sure that you are established with God, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And I would say also, you have to take an account and look and be like, I also need to be physically prepared. Okay. All the prepper stuff that, you see all over the internet, you know what I mean? Learning about firearms, learning about medical, learning about how to store food away, learning how to grow your own food. And I'm not saying that so you can just hoard and live in fear. No, biblical preparedness has nothing to do with fear. It's all about heeding the warning of God so that you can thrive during a time of crisis, so that you can be a blessing and reach people with the gospel and bless other people. If you're starving to death, how are you going to bless somebody? Okay? It's as simple as that. So I think it's really important that people take an account of that and understand that you're going to have to endure some things. How bad some of this is going to get, I really don't know. Okay, I haven't been specifically shown some of these things, kind of like Brandon, and I was listening to a word from John Kilpatrick. People are getting specific stuff that's going to happen. I've heard several words about specific events that are coming. Whether or not they're true or not, you got to pray about all of it. and understand, where do I fit in the middle of it all, you know? Like, I've even heard words of a great earthquake over here in the Northwest, and, like, you know, parts of the Northwest getting wiped out and all sorts of different stuff. I'm not moving because of that, but man, you might want to heed that. You might want to think about that and understand, like, you know, what's going on here. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be in the will of God. You need to understand where your role is in all this, and you need to come out of her. You need to come out of the systems of the world, and you need to understand that there is a clear message through these solar eclipses, the one in 2017 and the one next year, and the fact that they are 7 years apart, and that we got another 7 years after this, and everybody can see the writing on the wall in this country. Okay, you need to be prepared. You need to come out of her and not be judged alongside the gods of America that are about to be judged. Okay. You know, I don't know if I got really much more to say on this one. I really hope that I'm coming through clear. You know, I ain't got a huge YouTube channel or nothing. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Even if it reaches a couple people, it doesn't really matter. I know that whatever God has put on me, I need to share some of these things. You know, I do believe, you know, I'm somewhat of a watchman. I can see things, a bigger picture a lot of times, and I've really been seeing this coming for a long time. So I just strongly advise you to heed to what I'm saying, and to really begin to seek the Lord and pray about all these things. So without going into anything more, God bless you. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll probably come back with another part 3 if the Lord puts it on me, to kind of go delve into this even more. Just stay frosty, get prepared. God bless.